If you've ever prepared a familiar meal, poured your usual breakfast, or blended a smoothie without thinking twice, and later noticed your body felt a little heavier, a little slower, or more tired than it used to, you're not imagining things. Most changes in circulation don't announce themselves loudly. They don't arrive with sharp pain or dramatic warning signs. They build quietly, gradually, over years. They're shaped by patterns that may have served you well for decades, but that sometimes need gentle adjustment as your body changes after 60. And that's what today is really about. Not fear, not restriction, not taking away the foods you enjoy, but understanding how certain everyday foods interact with an aging circulatory system, and how small, thoughtful changes can help your blood move more freely, your heart work more comfortably, and your energy feel steadier again. Because your body is not breaking down, it's responding. Before we go further, let me ask you something simple, and take a moment to really consider it. Have you ever assumed a food was healthy just because it felt familiar, comforting, or routine, without stopping to ask how your body responds to it now? That question matters more than most people realize. As we age, the body doesn't stop adapting, but the way it processes minerals, sugars, fats, and fluids does change. Blood vessels gradually lose some of their elasticity. Kidney filtration slows slightly. Platelet activity becomes more sensitive. Hydration needs increase. And circulation responds far more to repetition than to any single meal. That's why some foods don't cause problems quickly. They influence the bloodstream quietly, meal after meal, year after year. Let's walk through a few common examples, not to eliminate them, but to understand how to work with your body instead of against it. We'll begin with a food many people associate with vitality, cleansing, and doing the right thing. For many older adults, leafy greens, especially when blended into smoothies, feel like an easy win. Spinach in particular is often chosen because it's rich in nutrients, gentle on digestion, and widely promoted as heart healthy. But how it's prepared matters more than most people realize. When spinach is eaten raw and blended daily, its natural compounds become more concentrated and are absorbed more rapidly into the bloodstream. In younger bodies, this usually isn't an issue. But after 60, the kidneys and blood vessels may process these compounds more slowly. Over time, minerals like oxalates can bind more readily with calcium in the bloodstream. This doesn't cause pain. It doesn't create immediate symptoms, but it can subtly affect blood viscosity, making it slightly heavier, slightly thicker, and slightly more difficult for the heart to push efficiently. Most people never feel this happening right away, but the heart feels it, especially at night when circulation naturally slows. This doesn't mean spinach is bad. It means frequency and preparation matter. Lightly cooking spinach changes how the body handles it. Rotating greens gives the kidneys and blood vessels variety instead of constant exposure. Using options like bok choy, romaine, arugula, or small amounts of kale helps maintain nutrient intake without placing unnecessary strain on circulation. And adding extra water supports filtration and flow. Have you noticed how your body feels different when you rotate foods instead of repeating the same ones every day? That awareness is one of the most powerful senior health tips there is, because your body is always giving feedback. Subtle signals like lighter digestion, steadier energy, calmer moods, or fewer aches aren't random. They're your body communicating what supports it and what slowly wears it down. When you pause long enough to notice those responses, eating becomes less about rules and more about relationship. You stop forcing foods to work and start choosing what truly agrees with you. And that kind of listening doesn't just guide your meals, it naturally leads you toward better balance, better circulation, and better long-term health overall. Now, let's move to a food many people associate with gentle mornings, steady energy, and heart health. Oats. Plain oats can be a wonderful choice. But many seniors don't eat plain oats. They eat granola clusters. When oats are processed into crunchy, sweetened clusters, much of the fiber that slows digestion is altered or reduced. What remains behaves more like a quick-burning carbohydrate. This matters because rapid blood sugar rises trigger stress responses inside the body. Each spike prompts insulin release. Each surge slightly thickens the blood as the body works to stabilize energy. On their own, these changes seem small, but repeated daily, especially in bodies with stiffer vessels, they add up. Added sugars and oxidized oils found in many granolas can irritate the inner lining of blood vessels. This irritation encourages platelets to cling more easily, increasing clot risk over time. Combine that with dehydration or long periods of sitting, and circulation becomes less efficient. The solution isn't to give up oats. It's to choose them wisely. Steel-cut or rolled oats digest slowly. Berries and cinnamon support vessel health. Seeds and nuts slow glucose absorption. Using granola as a topping rather than a base changes the entire metabolic response. Many people notice steadier mornings, fewer midday energy dips, and calmer circulation within weeks of making this shift. Next, let's talk about a food deeply tied to tradition and comfort: red meat. For many seniors, red meat represents nourishment, family meals, and satisfaction. And in moderation, it can still have a place. But frequency and form matter, especially with processed varieties like deli meats, sausages, and cured cuts. As the body ages, it becomes more reactive to saturated fats and chemical preservatives. These substances quietly increase inflammation inside blood vessels. This inflammation doesn't cause pain, but it changes the texture of vessel walls, making them slightly more adhesive. When platelets pass through irritated vessels, they tend to cluster more easily. Add excess iron, which accelerates oxidative stress, and blood can become more sluggish over time. Some people notice this as leg heaviness, afternoon fatigue, or chest tightness after meat-heavy meals, without realizing circulation is under strain. Balancing red meat with fish, beans, lentils, tofu, or lean poultry gives the circulatory system time to recover. Choosing fresh cuts over processed versions reduces inflammation significantly. Treating red meat as an occasional comfort rather than a daily staple often results in lighter energy and smoother blood flow. Now let's look at a breakfast food many people trust without question: sugary cereals. They're colorful, convenient, familiar, but refined grains break down into sugar very quickly, especially when paired with milk. This causes sharp blood sugar rises followed by equally sharp drops. Each insulin surge slightly thickens the blood as the body tries to stabilize energy. Over time, particularly in less flexible vessels, this stresses circulation. Artificial flavors and added sugars also irritate arterial linings, increasing platelet stickiness. Many seniors feel this as mid-morning fog, headaches, or sudden fatigue, often without realizing breakfast set the tone. Switching to slower digesting options like eggs, oats with fiber, or chia pudding allows blood sugar to rise gently and fall slowly. If cereal remains a favorite, choosing higher fiber and minimal sugar and adding nuts or seeds softens the circulatory impact significantly. The next food item on the list is one that many find especially comforting: cheese. For many older adults, cheese represents satisfaction, warmth, and familiarity. But daily overuse can quietly affect circulation. As digestion slows with age, saturated fats linger longer in the bloodstream. Sodium levels in many cheeses contribute to fluid retention, increasing blood pressure, and slowing blood flow. At night, when circulation naturally slows, this combination places extra strain on the heart. Some people notice morning stiffness, ankle swelling, or heaviness after cheese-heavy dinners. The goal isn't elimination, it's moderation and selection. Fresh cheeses like ricotta, cottage cheese, or mozzarella are gentler choices. Pairing cheese with vegetables or fruit rather than refined bread supports smoother flow. When cheese becomes an occasional pleasure instead of a daily habit, many people notice lighter mornings and steadier energy. So what does all of this mean together? It means your body is not fragile. It is responsive. Circulation reflects patterns: hydration, movement, food variety, and consistency. You don't need to overhaul your diet. You don't need fear-based rules. You need awareness. One thoughtful swap, one rotated ingredient, one supportive habit at a time. That's how blood flow improves. That's how the heart relaxes. That's how energy steadies. And it's always wise to keep your healthcare team part of the conversation. Everyone's body and medical history is different, and meaningful changes should be discussed with your doctor, especially if you're managing medications or ongoing conditions. As always, these senior health tips are meant to educate and support, not replace personalized medical guidance. Before we close, let me ask you one last question. What's one small food habit you feel ready to adjust? Not perfectly, just consistently. Because that's where real change lives. Not in overhauls or strict rules, but in the quiet decisions you repeat without pressure. The glass of water you choose first thing in the morning. The meal that leaves you feeling steady instead of drained. The choice to rotate foods, to pause, and to listen. When you honor those small signals and respond with care, your body begins to trust you again. And that trust creates momentum, not all at once, but gently, over time. That's how habits stick. That's how health becomes something you live with, not something you chase. Every day is another chance to care for the body that's carried you this far. Keep learning, keep moving, keep believing in your own strength. Because aging isn't slowing down, it's leveling up. If today's message resonated, take a moment to subscribe, leave a thought in the comments, or share this video with someone who could use a little encouragement. Because together, we're proving that aging well isn't the exception, it's the standard.